Howdy folks, it is the tail end of apple season here, so not too late to get some fresh pressed apple cider. I'm gonna show you how I make a delicious spiced apple pie syrup, and we're gonna make apple shrub, but with a twist, all thanks to some loyal viewers just like you. Let's go! So, in the comments of the holiday drinks video, I got a comment from a loyal viewer named Nathan Grover. Thanks, Nathan, who suggested making a spiced apple cider syrup, which sounds delicious. So, I decided to make it. I found some fresh local cider at the grocery store later that day, so we're off. Now, Nathan said in his syrup he used a combination of turbinado and brown sugar. I decided just to go with turbinado because there's no rules. So let me just show you what I did. Start with your nice fresh pressed apple cider. If you haven't tried fresh pressed apple cider, you absolutely have to do it. It is delicious. And of course, I'm not talking about the fermented beverage you get at a English pub. I'm talking about the pressed juice you get from an apple orchard. Now we're gonna put that on the stove with our sugar. I did about a 1.5 to 1 ratio of sugar to cider. There's a lot of sugar in the cider itself, so this is gonna end up being more like a 2 to 1. It came out really thick and delicious, actually. For spices, I added cassia chips, cloves, allspice, and star anise. I probably should have toasted the spices first. I think most recipes would tell you to toast the spices, but I forgot, which I think worked out fine. Now, I just heated this enough to melt the sugar. I turned off the heat and let it cool with the spices in there so they could steep and infuse. Once it was cool, I strained it out, put it in a bottle, and we're good to go. Let's actually just give this a taste real quick. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it is nice and thick. Very appley smell. Like the fresh apple flavor really just supercharged in this. And it's got a little bit of that sort of cooked apple flavor, like since we heated up the juice, and it's like an apple pie. It's like got that sort of cooked apple flavor like an apple pie, and then with the spices and whatnot, amazing. Star anise is delicious. It's got a little bit of that licorice flavor, but it's also more like a vanilla. It's like in between a vanilla and a licorice. Delicious. By the way, this reminds me of a syrup that Andrew from Angry Cocktails makes. He has a slightly different method, but it also sounds delicious. I'm gonna link it down below so you can check that out if you want to. Now, Nathan also suggested a drink. It's gonna be an old-fashioned with cognac and rum. It's gonna be sweetened with our apple syrup, and we have some black walnut bitters to spice it up. Let's make that. We did it. A cognac and rum apple old-fashioned. Amazing. Cognac and rum is a great combo. The apple, it's adding like a richness to it. You don't really get a lot of the spice, but you do get like a fall richness, you know, a molassesy kind of fall vibe. I don't know how to describe it. It may be too much rum. Oh yeah. When I tested this before, I did more cognac, less rum, but I'm kind of running out of cognac, so I decided to try a little less cognac, a little more rum. But I think I'd probably go back to more cognac, less rum. It's a nice old-fashioned, very sort of fall-toned, you know. I like the walnut bitters in there. They give it a little bit of a nuttiness, of course. I don't love Fee Brothers bitters. They're not usually my favorite. That bottle was a gift, So I'm happy to have them. Anyway, thank you, Nathan, for this recipe. I love it. Now, if you scroll further down in that same comment thread, we have another loyal viewer named None Remaining. Now, None Remaining suggested sort of making an apple cider reduction and making a syrup out of that to make a sort of apple molasses. And that sounds terrific. Unfortunately, I sort of misunderstood the instructions, but that led me to a pretty interesting discovery. Now, instead of making a syrup, I just made a reduction. I took apple cider and reduced it by half, but it just came out to be sort of a more acidic, sort of cooked apple-y liquid. I don't know. It wasn't really anything that I wanted to put in a drink. But I had an idea. Let's add this apple reduction to this apple shrub I'm about to make. Hell yeah, that can't be bad. So let's make apple shrub. Now, I've made lots of shrubs, and the procedure is pretty much always the same. I'll put a link down below to a how-to video all about shrubs if you want more information on shrubs. For now, I'm just gonna recap what I did here just real quick. First off, I'm not an apple expert. I've grabbed 3 different kinds of apples from the store. I got an opal, a Kisabel, and a Kanzi. Those seem like fine apples. I cut up the apples and added an equal weight of sugar. I actually backed off the sugar a touch this time in the hopes that it would allow all of the sugar to dissolve instead of having a little bit left over in the bottom, which it did. I added a few spices to this as well, some cinnamon again, some clove again, and some star anise. I left out the allspice. Adding a little spice to apple is good. Apple doesn't usually carry a ton of flavor in the shrubs, but a little spice, you know, gives it a little depth. I let this sit about 2 days until all of the liquid was sucked out of the fruit and all the sugar was dissolved. You could let it sit longer if you wanted to. Now it's time to strain it out and bottle it. At this stage, you could soak the Dunnings in alcohol and make a quick liqueur type thing. I was going to put these apples in bourbon, but I have so much infused booze already, I decided to skip it. But you should actually definitely do it because it rules. After we strain it, it's time to put in the vinegar. I used apple cider vinegar this time. You want to be careful with apple cider vinegar because it's pretty strong. I used about a 3-to-1 ratio of syrup to vinegar. I had about 600 milliliters of apple syrup. I put in about 225 milliliters of apple cider vinegar. So now I have this in 2 bottles, and I'm gonna go ahead and add my apple reduction to the smaller bottle, and let's see how it is. Now, I mentioned before how apples sometimes have a little hard time carrying a lot of their flavor through the shrubbing process. Put in a little bit of this cider reduction into here. I mean, you get a real hit of like cooked apple flavor. This is delicious. I might start doing this every year. Apple shrub. So what are we gonna do with this shrub? So one thing I like to do sometimes is like translate a drink that's in one form into another form. Like for example, if the flavors in our apple cognac old fashioned work pretty well, why don't we make an apple shrub and cognac highball? Yeah, why not? Let's do that. We did it. Check out this highball. I mean, how beautiful is that? I did cut back the rum a little bit. I did 3/4 of cognac and only 1/2 ounce of rum because, you know, we learned lessons from the previous iteration. I also threw in 1/4 ounce of orange liqueur because I thought that would be fun. Holy cow. Oh my gosh. That is really good. That orange liqueur, I think, really just kicks it up a notch. It's cognac-y, but it's also pretty tart from the apple shrub. It's got like an apple-y kind of aftertaste. Not really up front, but that's pretty complex highball. I'm actually, that's better than I thought it would be, actually. It's got this sort of zingy, appley aftertaste, and that orange, but that orange and apple sort of combine into this like, I don't know, like an appley dessert, like an apple tart or something. Wow, I really enjoy that one. All right, that's 2 excellent drinks thanks to your viewer suggestions. I guess that does it for Apple Extravaganza 2024. I love getting suggestions from viewers, so put those down in the comments. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.